Their natural habitats keep shrinking as we chop down more forests. And despite the threat of extinction, they often end up on our dinner plates. The rarer the better for some, the higher the price for poachers. But dining on endangered species can cost your health. Zoonotic diseases, AIDS, Ebola, and the new coronavirus, they all jumped from wild animals to us. And they'll do it again.
Covid-19 broke out at a wild animal market in China. There were international calls for the closure of such markets, but experts warn a ban could drive the trade underground. What needs changing is hygiene. I'll talk to an expert about that in a moment. First, some more background.
What are zoonotic diseases? They're diseases caused by pathogens carried by non-human animals that spread to people. 6 out of every 10 infectious diseases are believed to be zoonotic. The pathogens can be viruses, bacteria, parasites, or fungi. Many of the diseases they cause in people are mild, but some are serious and even deadly. The bubonic plague, tuberculosis, malaria, and Ebola are zoonotic diseases that have killed countless millions of people. Mosquitoes and bats, but also cats and dogs, and many other species carry pathogens that can make people sick. But often they don't make the animals that host them sick. Transmission can occur via a bite, or through eating the flesh of a carrier, or contact with its blood or feces. Zoonotic diseases can spread fast and far if the pathogens adapt to be transmitted from person to person. That's the case with the novel coronavirus. One hypothesis is that pangolins were the intermediaries that transported the novel coronavirus from its natural hosts, bats, to humans. Wet markets where live wild animals are sold are considered a potential site of transmission of zoonotic disease pathogens. Some have been closed for that reason. Infectious diseases from animals are a growing problem that probably has to do with humans encroaching on animal habitats. Forests are cleared for timber or to make space for farms or towns. Humans and animal species are no longer far apart. This offers opportunities for pathogens to make the leap. There are more than 200 known zoonotic diseases, but there are countless germs out there to which humans have no immunity. Are new devastating diseases lurking? To prevent them making the jump to humans, we need to protect wild animals and their habitats.
Carola Sauter-Louis is Deputy Head of the Institute of Epidemiology at Germany's Friedrich-Loeffler Institute. You're also a veterinary epidemiologist. Just how dangerous are zoonotic diseases?
Well, zoonotic diseases are sort of in our human nature already for many, many years and for many centuries, because zoonotic diseases are such diseases which are in humans and in animals. And the interesting part is that about 60% of all the human infectious diseases, they originate from animals, so they come from animals. And over the last few years of the newly emerging diseases, it's actually 75%. So when you look at that percentage, that's quite a lot. So a lot of the pathogens which are out there are shared between animals and humans. And that is not surprising because we are humans, we are part of the animal kingdom. So therefore, all the pathogens which are out there, the viruses, bacteria, and so on, they don't distinguish between animals and humans. And there is no special barrier between animals and humans. So zoonoses are really the most of the diseases which we have. And a lot of the zoonoses, like we now think of SARS-CoV-2, corona, but then there are a lot of other zoonoses which we have already conquered and have taken measures against, like rabies or tuberculosis, brucellosis, all those salmonellosis, all those diseases were around there were always zoonoses. But the ones which we have come in the last few years, such as bird flu or swine flu, BSE, HIV, Ebola, they all originated from animals.
So
and
what are you saying that are we now sharing a lot more of those diseases with the animal kingdom?
Yes, we always shared a lot of diseases with the animal kingdom. But now our reason is that we have more, or that we believe we see more of those diseases is because, first of all, we are more humans. Our contact to the animals is much more closer. We also we penetrate into habitats where nobody had been before, like habitat of animals, of wild animals, or whatever. So our contact possibilities between animals and humans, they are much higher than they were 100 years ago. In addition, we also have the trade and our travels through all the world. Like, we can travel wherever we like without Corona. We sort of like, we were there within one day, and we were in all different ecosystems. So therefore, the contact possibility is much higher than it was ever before.
So what do we need to do? What do we need to do to prevent zoonoses?
I think we will never eliminate zoonoses, so we will have to live with them. And as you say, we have to try to prevent them. And I think one key measure is really the hygiene and the hygienic measures. So what we call in animal-based, we call it biosecurity, but the same applies to humans. We really have to wash our hands, look after that we don't have such direct contact or close contact, or especially keep sort of those hygienic measures. That will solve quite a lot of the zoonotic problems.
Surely there's a lot more we need to do to be proactive before these diseases jump from animal to human, though. What's the solution on that front? Does it mean less factory farming? Does it mean chopping down less jungles and forests?
Well, it could mean all of this. It could mean chucking down less of the forest. But it also could mean being more aware of the diseases, that we can bring in the diseases when we come, like we in our Western Europe setting, when we come from other ecosystems. Be aware that we might bring in viruses that are harmful, that might establish here, or other pathogens. So just the awareness and sort of like treating ourselves afterwards, like being infectious, sort of like, what can we do? We can keep hygienic measures, we can keep quarantine, we can try, if possible, to be more sustainable, not to go into those areas where it's exotic and so on.
But surely there are more proactive measures that we can take. I mean, what do you tell someone who needs to venture out, who needs to eat bush meat, basically to survive? Someone in the Democratic Republic of Congo, say, in a small village, who doesn't see the danger in catching zoonoses.
They might not see the danger, but it's still a matter of awareness. So there's one possibility that you can make them aware of, that there is the possibility, and that there are hygienic measures which they can take just to prevent those zoonoses going over from animals to humans. So in terms of being proactive, you can try to raise awareness, but you can also, and that's what science and politics are trying to do, is trying to find out what viruses are out there in the wildlife, in the bushmeat, and so on, and what viruses could then be a threat to us later on. And so part of this is also the One Health principle, where the health of animals, humans, and environment is sort of looked at holistically. And I think that's the way to go in the future, to see what is the health and how do they interact with each other. And I think that's what One Health will do in the future.
Some solutions there from Carola Sauter-Louis, Deputy Head of the Institute of Epidemiology at Germany's Friedrich Loeffler Institute. Thank you. Now it's your turn to ask the questions. Here's Derek Williams.
Will other countries do their own challenge trials now that the UK has announced it's doing so?
Challenge trials involve intentionally infecting organisms with a pathogen to find out how well vaccines or medications work at stopping that pathogen. They're a fast-track method for determining safety and efficacy, and we conduct them all the time, usually on animals, especially primates. But in ethical terms, human challenge studies, like the one proposed in Britain, can be pretty charged. If the plans are approved, starting this January, researchers there will begin deliberately infecting young, healthy volunteers with SARS-CoV-2, initially to find out how much of the pathogen it takes to make them sick. Once the scientists have determined that, they can begin giving other volunteers vaccines, then subsequently challenging their immune system with that preset dose of coronavirus to see how effective the vaccines are. Doing things this way can provide precise data quickly, so it can really speed up the development process. That's because instead of just giving a late-stage vaccine candidate to thousands of volunteers and a placebo to thousands of others, and then basically waiting to see what happens, researchers have a lot more control over the entire process. But they don't have control in one key area. Because we still don't have surefire therapies to treat someone if an induced COVID-19 infection turns severe, the possibility that a human challenge trial could cause a volunteer long-term damage or even kill them, that can't be ruled out. Despite those risks, Britain is apparently not the only country to consider conducting human challenge trials. According to the science journal Nature, at least some exploratory planning has commenced in Belgium and the US as well.